How are you? Good. All right, folks, we will get started. Head coach Mike Anderson from the University of Arkansas. We will start with a opening statement, and then we'll open it to questions from the floor.
Well, first of all, we were excited to be here in Detroit, and just right off the bat, man, when we got off the plane to our hotels, the hospitality couldn't be any more than first class. And so on behalf of, I'm sure the University of Detroit is hosting this tournament, and the people here in Detroit, we're very gracious, and thank you guys for just welcoming us, and we're looking forward to hopefully going on and playing an exciting game against a Butler team coached by Coach Jordan out of the Big East. Very well-balanced basketball team. The thing that concerns you is that they have so many guys that can really shoot the ball on the perimeter. They're very versatile. They rebound the ball well. They just do a lot of good things. Their bench comes in and plays well for them. The Baldwin kid, he runs the show, but he's capable of scoring. So we've got our work cut out for us. But at the same time, it's a great opportunity to participate in what I think is one of the greatest sporting events there is, the NCAA tournament, March Madness. When it's all said and done, there's going to be one champion. And so, but we're here and hopefully have an opportunity to survive and advance. That's what it's all about.
Okay. Right down here in front.
Tom Davis, Fort Wayne News Sentinel. Coach, you've been in this business a long, long time. Not too long, but a long time.
I've been in for a while. You're right.
For a while.
You're absolutely right. Yes, I have.
But is there a common theme from the Butler teams that you've, and I know maybe you haven't studied them super closely, but is there a common theme from like the Brad Stevens teams to today's that this program always does this really, really well?
Oh, they do it well. I mean, you can even go back to when Barry Collier was coaching them, you know, and the coaches that have come through there. It's amazing how the program just continues to evolve. And obviously it reached a tremendous pinnacle with Brad Stevens there. But everything was already set in place, and I think Coach Jordan, a guy who played there. So it's one thing when a guy plays there, he embodies what it's all about, and that's why it's easy to see him continue that success. When you look at their basketball team, they're doing some of the same things they did, and they're only going to get better. This is year one for him, and look where he is right now. So again, it's a tribute to Barry, who's now he's the man that's kind of over and bringing in the coaches in there, and so it's kind of like his stamp that took place, and it continues. I think for AD or a former coach, that's a great thing.
Mike, Bo Mattingly, Sports Talk back in Arkansas.
Hey, Bo.
Hey, some people have asked you, because you've talked a few times about how your teams are built for tournament situations, and I know you've explained it before, but when you say that, what are you talking about as far as the way you build your roster for this time of year? Well,
we play, I think it starts from day one. We play a style of basketball that I play a lot of people, a lot of guys on my team, and as these guys assume their roles and they understand what their roles are, I think our team gets better. I think there's a trust factor amongst them with each other and then with me. And so it's like, when I always sometimes talk about an artist when you throw paint on a canvas. I mean, you go in there and, boy, it's everywhere. But as the season progresses, you clean it up. You clean it up. You clean it up. And I think that's what we've been doing. You saw our team. I mean, it looked like it came out of the gates running and then got popped inside the head. Once we got the conference play, we had to recalibrate. And I think now, with so many seniors on your team now, I think guys now understand their roles. We've had some guys have moved on from our basketball team, and now you got to recalibrate again. But I think the key is that those guys now understand their role. Let's say Daryl Macon, he's in a better place than he was last year. Different role from last year. He is one of those guys. When you had Manuel Watkins, Moses Kingsley, and Dusty Hannas, those guys were kind of the core guys. So that core had to kind of be reshaped, and I think now we're seeing that. We're seeing Anton Beard in a much, much comfortable role now. He's a little general out there on the floor. Whether you know it or not, he is that guy. Trey Thompson, and then, of course, the emergence of the young guys. It takes those guys a little while to get their footing. Daniel Gafford. I mean, he probably early in the year he had more fouls than he did points, but now he's figuring it out, as well as a guy like Darius Hall, and you go on and on. So now I'm adding pieces to the puzzle. Gabe Usaboy, now he's giving us some quality minutes, and so what I mean by putting it all together now, we're a team that when you get to this time of the year, you can have some adversity. You get guys in foul trouble. It's easy to plug some guys in there, and they've played meaningful minutes. You know, a lot of guys don't play but 6 or 7 guys. And if somebody goes down, man, there's some adversity there. But I think with our team here, and then the turnaround, you know, here you play a game, and if you're able to survive and get past it, the scouting reports are so intense right now. And but one of the things we always worry about what we do. And so going into that next game, I think it tends to favor us because I think when you get to this end of the year, fatigue becomes a factor. And if that bench isn't developed, and I think that is the strongest component of our team is our bench, then you're going to have some issues as you move in this tournament, if it makes sense.
Coach Drew Ammon from the NBC in Fayetteville.
Hey, Drew.
Coach, you touched on Anton Beard, 12 assists, 2 turnovers in the 3 games combined in the SEC tournament. How has he grown? And I get a sense that he's really relishing this opportunity, the 3rd trip to the NCAA tournament past 4 years.
I think I've heard him talk more about it, you know, him being one of the older guys now, being one of the guys who've been, he and Trey Thompson. And I think he's letting those experiences speak for themselves, and he's doing it in practice, and now he's carrying over in the game. And I think he's finally figuring out the byproduct of him being real productive is because people are keying in on Darryl Macon and Jalen Barford because of the all-star staff, as well as Daniel Gafford. So sometimes he's going to be the beneficiary, you know, of some of the things that take place. But he's got to be the little coach out there on the floor. He's got to be the coach, Coach Anderson, whatever you want to call it, on the floor. And like I said, it goes back to that trust factor.
Coach, there was a stretch in February, I think, of 5 games where you had over 40 deflections in each of those games. How do you balance aggressiveness defensively with being solid defensively and not gambling and jumping out into passing lanes too much? You know, there's a fine line there.
Oh yeah. You know, we have a saying, you know, it's sometimes no guts, no glory. You know, you've heard that before, but there is a fine line, and there's that fine line of actually as a coach, you're letting those kids have the freedom to go out there and make good decisions. But I still go back to what I talked about. You throw it on the canvas, you clean it up, and we got to clean up the fouling, and we got to be in the right place. And it's not feast or famine in terms of our defensive pressure. But the deflections tell me that we're working, we're active. And if we're seeing the man and seeing the ball, we're going to come up with some of those. Again, our defense is geared to not letting people get comfortable doing what they want to do. And but we don't want to put people on the free throw line. But there have been games where we've done that. But I just think through the course of the year, I think our guys are starting to really starting to figure out the system, if you want to say that, or figuring out how to play without fouling. I think there's a lot of things, you know, still in the basketball. This team here has not forced as many turnovers as teams of the past. But this is a different team than other teams. I think this team is better offensively. We can score. But I know when you saw that period where we actually were doing a lot of touching, we had to turn our attention to the defense because we were just trying to win with offense. And you can't do that. So there's got to be that balance. And I think we're more balanced now than we have been. We've been playing really good basketball here lately. And I'm anxious to see how we come out and play. You know, our last game, I thought we just kind of ran out of gas. But I thought the second half of that game, we really we fought to get ourselves back in it with Tennessee. So I'm anxious to see how we come out against a really good Butler team that can spread you, can attack you, and rebound the basketball. They have the Martin kid. I mean, this guy had like 4 30-point games. And the Baldwin kid has had a 30-point game. So they got guys that are really capable. McDermott, he's a guy that, I mean, he's a sharpshooter. So the Wideman kid, I mean, he just posts up, and he got the whole lane to himself. So our team's got to make some adjustment on the fly, but we can't let them get comfortable. And I'm sure Coach Jordan said the same thing.
Coach, you talked a little bit about not forcing as many turnovers this year. The flip side of that is you guys have taken very good care of the ball this year and avoided turnovers yourself. And is that something you think sort of has gotten overlooked about your program over the years, that you've been able to have your guys value the basketball maybe more than people would expect for a team that likes to get up and down the court?
I think that's true. That's always been the case, wherever I've been. We value the basketball. I think if you look at some of the ingredients or some of the things that take place when we have success, we value the basketball. We should be a much better free throw shooting team because we get to the line, because we're an attacking team. We're going to attack you defensively. Offensively, we're going to attack you. We got balanced scoring. Of course, when you got prolific scorers like a Macon and a Barford, those guys, they can score, and they can score in bunches. And we see now Daniel starting to score for us. But our team, again, we share the basketball. We're a team that shares the basketball. So our assist totals, the turnover ratio is always, we've been some of the top ones in the conference, and maybe not as much as this year. And I think our rebound is better than it has been. And if we can stay in the ballpark and rebound, and we can continue to do those things, the assists, the field goal percentage. I mean, it's one of the better three-point shooting field goal teams that we've had. But you go back to last year, it was one of the better free throw shooting teams we had, and the field goals. So we play up tempo, and we love to get them down the floor. But I think it's run and execute, and I think we're doing more of it. We're being more efficient in what we're doing. There he is, Bob. Bob showed up. All right, Bob. They ain't giving you the mic right now. Wally got it.
I might keep it. Does Baldwin remind you of anybody that you played this year?
You know what? I just look at him in a different category in terms of what he brings to the table. He's a guy. He's a point guard that can score, and he goes right. He goes left. He does whatever he needs to do with that team to help them win. He's a very good defensive player. I think for a guy as a sophomore, he certainly is. His upside is really, really big. And I think this year he really stepped up his game, and Coach Jordan's got to be commended for that. But when you talk about guards we played, I mean, we played some really good ones in our league. You think about Chioza with his quickness, and he can create, he can score, he can do a lot of different things. There are a lot of great guards that have been in our league. But I just put him in a class by himself because he's left-handed. But he shoots the ball with his right hand. I've noticed that. He goes to the right, he shoots just as effective, going right than he does left-handed. But he's a very good basketball player. He's an important player for them. Very much, let's say, like Darryl Macon is for us. He's an important player for them.
Hey, Mike, I had a two-parter, if that's okay, since I got in late.
One at a time, Bob.
Yeah, okay, no, I'll do one at a time. Okay, first one, the players were saying in the locker room that you'd lost your championship ring, but that you'd found it recently, and maybe that was a good omen. Just wonder if you could.
I did. It's. And them guys tell everything, don't they? I guess ain't no secret that they're with family, I guess. Yeah, I lost the NCAA national championship ring. I had no idea when I lost it. And that's, you got to remember we won that in '94, and I recently this year, someone called me from a pawn shop on the outside of New Orleans, and said, I did some research, and this ring came in my shop, and I looked at the roster, and there was only one Anderson. Are you that Anderson? I said, yep, you got me. And lo and behold, to make a long story short, it got to the pawn shop, so somebody evidently I thought I lost it or somebody took it from me, and I didn't know. And the guy called me and said, hey, do you want it back? And we went through all that. How sometimes you think about pawn shops, man. They're just trying to get you, man. But true enough, it was my ring, and he sent me a picture and all that stuff. And it's amazing that Matt Zimmerman was my operations guy, and I had the picture and I showed him. And all guys, this guy, he don't forget what took place in 1922, and he wasn't even born then. This guy has just got to remember. Coach, I remember when you lost. We was at a hotel in New Orleans. We had just played Tulane, and we got on the bus, the plane. You said, hey, I think I left my ring in the room. Could you call back there? He said, call back there, and they had the maids look for it and all that stuff. They never did find it. And but it worked its way to a pawn shop. And so you can imagine that was in, I think, so I must have lost like in '04, I think. So '04 to 2000, what were 2007, 18?
2018. Yeah.
2018, 17. And lo and behold, it shows up. And so I got my NCAA national championship ring back, Bob.
And did the pawn guy make you pay for it, or do you take that as a good omen?
No, I had to pay for it.
Okay.
But it was an omen, you know.
Yeah.
It's because it's something that's been out of my mind. I always, you know, there's one you create as a that we made up ourselves with the one in it, the hog in it, the 40 Minutes of Hell, and this one came from the NCAA, and it was still like in the same shape it was when I got it. So it's in a keepsake possession now. So.
And the other question was, you know, when Daniel had that great windmill dunk at Florida, I didn't notice at the time, but a video later, people commented, he sprinted back down the floor like it was a one-point game or a tie game or so. What do you think that says about Daniel, that he has a big dunk, the game's won, there's just a few seconds left, and he sprints down the floor like you know, on defense?
I said it before, he's got a big-time motor. I mean, this guy, he exchanged ends faster than guards, and just plays with a lot of passion, a lot of energy. I think he's just out there having fun, Bob. He's having fun.
Coach, right as your players were exiting the stage there, Jalen made the comment, they call us Earth, Wind, and Fire. And so we didn't get to ask them about that, which that's a reference you and I would understand in our generation. But what's the story behind Earth, Wind, and Fire?
I have no idea what these guys are talking about. I'm serious. I don't. It's scary because I put all three of them together, and that's what you get when you put all three of them guys together. You know what? I think they're making up something. So there's that kind of group. I tell you what, it's a good group of guys, and they like each other. You can tell that.
I should explain to somebody else. Hey, Mike, if you guys had beaten Carolina last year, you would have played Butler in Memphis. I don't know if you thought about that, but now here you are playing Butler. Does it seem, I don't know, like destiny or karma, or do you put any stock in that you're playing Butler a year after you came so close to playing them?
No, I didn't see it like that. I was, I'm a day-to-day guy, game to game, and so my focus was in on North Carolina and beating them. And when we got our butts beat, I was pissed. I was ticked off. So I didn't see that far down the line. But it is ironic that we played in the PK80 and I had a chance to sit down. Coach Jordan and I actually had a chance just to sit and talk a little bit. I had never had a chance to meet him and talk with him, sing him out, on the circuit. But so that was kind of cool there. And here we are in the NCAA tournament.
We're going to let Coach get off to practice. And
Appreciate it.
we have a break here until, I believe it's 2:45, 2:35.
All right. Thank you.